Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker-Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process in discussions between the authors, narrators, producers, and post-production teams that bring them all together, as well as guests who have listened to the audiobooks and have questions for the creative teams. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Hi, I'm Becky Parker-Geist. I am the host of Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm also president of Bay Area Independent Publishers Association and the CEO and founder of Pro Audio Voices and Amplify Audiobooks, providing audiobook and podcast production, distribution, and marketing. And today I have with me Mike Mirabella. Mike is the author and songwriter behind the Carla Stories series, which includes Sister Butterfly, I Used to Be Shy, and Special People, and also the children's book On the Luck of an Irish Sailor. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, you and I have actually known each other for many years, which has been a great gift to me in my life. And I know that you and your wife, Pam, have a very special mission. Would you like to share what you have, your intention with your stories, and how you're trying to provide this benefit or this value to the world?
Well, it started off actually our quest to write books started off as with the birth of our first child, Carla Elaine, who was blessed with Down syndrome, and very, very early in our lives we had no idea what that meant for us, for her, for anybody who touched her life, but we decided that in and about all of that, there were going to be some ups and downs, and we wanted to know what were the ups, what were we going to do that were going to be successful, and so we had a lot of just things that happened in our lives that we did with her and that proved successful. And as we chronicled those in little booklets and what have you, later on, we started writing them down and chronicling them and finding out that other people had similar kinds of experiences. And we thought, well, maybe we have something here that we could offer others. And so we started to do that. We started to share that with others and getting involved with other people. It's very interesting to me, too, that as an educator, I was a school teacher for many, many years. And as I was sitting in with other parents and parent groups, all I heard were the downsides of their stories. I heard, oh, woe is me, we have this child and this child is this and that and whatever. And I thought there's got to be some upshots of this. What are you getting out of this? What kind of ups are you getting out of this? And what are you putting back into it? And what are you sharing with others? And most of the time, people weren't sharing anything positive that I could.
Wow. Yeah.
So they were really requesting aid and help and get me out of this, and there was no way you could do that because here you are, you're going to be weathering it and what are you going to do with it? And so I thought that was something we could think about. So that's where we went with our books. We decided that as we started to chronicle our endeavors with our daughter, and especially when her sister was born, it became very clear that we had things to say and that we could go on with it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you recall about how old Carla was when you finding that you were in this group of parents where others were not seeing the joys and the blessings of having a Down syndrome child?
Yeah, I think that it was very, very, very quickly.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
we were in church groups and education groups. And most of the time, I can understand that because we were in that same kind of place where we were saying, well, how could this be a blessing? How could this be a blessing to anybody? And then as we listen to people talking about their, that it couldn't all be a down story. There had to be something good because their child was a beautiful child, always laughing and always happy. And we're saying, well, now where's the down part of this? So, yeah, I think that it was basically how you entered the conversation, and we decided, well, maybe we could offer just a different point of view, and so it didn't take too long, maybe a year, of gathering our thoughts and getting it.
I just want to share. So from my own life experience, when I started in kindergarten, my mom got her teaching degree and went to teach, and she taught special ed, and she had several Down syndrome kids in her class, and as her kid, I got to sometimes go visit the school, meet her students and stuff, and I was always struck by just how joyful. There was just so much happiness, that how what I remember so clearly, and then later in my own life as a substitute teacher, also choosing, I want to work with the special needs kids, that just the delight in the little things that sadly so many of us lose, you know
Yeah,
and they generally tend to remind us of how delightful life is. Just these little
it can
things.
be. It can be. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that a lot of it has to do with the viewpoints of their guides, of the parents and or the people who bring them up. Like you said, the teachers. Just what's your point of view? And I think it's very interesting when we think about that. You know, going outside and looking at the butterflies flying around, that thing, and then you're looking at that and saying, well, these little children came from someplace, and it's amazing how Carla would just involved with the insects and and the other kids were more involved with looking for the ball or looking for somebody to play with, and it was just very obvious to us that there was another game going on, and we needed to be aware of that. So.
Yeah. Now, you said that you were an educator. What grade levels were you teaching?
Okay, I started off as a middle school teacher and went up and I taught Spanish, and I taught some music, and then I went on to high school, and it just that all kind of followed me, in my life. It just you kind of choose the things that you fall in love with, and you stay with them, and as Carla was growing up, then we found that our focus was more and more around Carla because that's just where our lives were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're also a musician. And tell us a little bit about maybe how you mentioned you maybe used some music. Were you teaching music at some points in the?
A little bits and pieces in time, yeah. Um, I wasn't a credential teacher at the time. I became a credential teacher later on, and maybe when I was 14 or so, I switched over in San Francisco as a guitar teacher to beginning students. That's another story, but it it's just something that I wanted to do. You just follow your quest, and that's just where I wanted to be.
Right. Now, as you were, if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that Carla was actually, in a way, facilitated you connecting with another songwriter where you started creating songs together for your kids.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about
Okay,
that.
yeah, with Lenny.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I didn't know that he was a very important person. I had no idea at the time, but he was equated with Peter, Paul, and Mary. And he and his wife were just parents, co-parents with us in the same area in the East Bay, or in the Oakland, Berkeley area. And they were raising a child with, I guess it was cerebral palsy or something like that. Yeah. And it happened that we were attending the same parent meetings, and they weren't terribly open with, with their concerns, but they were very go to do it type people. Pam was learning to do that. She was, you know, going to people for advice, etc. And the ladies became very close, and I was quiet about what I was doing musically, and I didn't know that Lenny was working with the professional end of folk music. I didn't know that he was connected with Peter, Paul, and Mary, and I didn't know that he was a songwriter at the time. But as we started getting together and caretaking our children, and he would come over and I would come over to his house, and we would go back and forth and take a look at the weekends and say, well, we've got to spend some time together, because if we don't, these kids are not going to have anybody to play with except themselves. They don't certainly draw normal kids, together. So as Lenny and I were throwing together, we would start throwing lyrics together, just throwing song lyrics together and writing them down. And I found out a lot later on that he was writing songs for Peter, Paul, and Mary. I was appalled by that. I went, whoa, my goodness, here I'm in the company of greatness here. And as it were, he had written the lyrics to Puff the Magic Dragon and many other songs that they had recorded. And that was very, very big and very exciting to be with. And so we became good friends. And
yeah. So these stories, the Carla Stories, started as songs, did they not? Did they start as songs, or did they actually start as stories that then you put to music?
They started as stories that we put to music. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they started as happening stories, and then we just cockamamie stories and cockamamie music things that we threw together. It's just the way we threw them together. The silly. We try to get into the silly side of ourselves, and kids would be flocking around on the rug in the front room. And Lenny and I would, either be doing that as well, or we'd be just throwing something silly to say about it,
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with some interesting things.
Yeah. So did you recorded those songs together with Lenny, right?
No, I didn't record with Lenny.
Okay.
Recorded. No. We didn't record together. It took us a while to kind of understand that we had something going there. He was already documented as working with Warner Brothers, etc. I was not even there in my mind. I was just playing with kids.
Yeah.
And also doing my own music. And we didn't connect that. He was not that open with his musicality for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
And people always ask me, can you tell me about Lenny? Not a whole lot when it really comes to the music end of it. No, he was very quiet about it.
Oh, yeah. So as you then started creating these stories, what was it that inspired you to start, creating the stories that it seems like Carla inspired?
When Pam and I were looking to see if there were any songs that could be given to somebody that they might find some value to. They had to have some sort of value in the sense of could they be of help to them in some way? And even if it was looking at an animal or talking to an animal, even if the animal didn't respond, there was some value to that. And so that's really where it started. It didn't have to have a cause and effect. It just had to have some sort of relationship to. With that, they became the ones we selected were the ones that had some, in our minds, positive outcome. So the ones we had were pretty good. They worked out very well, and Lenny agreed with that. When he was involved with music, he had a very positive attitude toward him too. But that helped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us also a little bit about On the Luck of an Irish Sailor. What inspired that, and how did that come into being?
I was a teenager, and I was a devotee of Peter Paul, not Peter, Paul and Mary, but of the Kingston Trio.
Oh yeah,
and all of their shenanigans and their fun little songs at the time. And I listened to some of the songs that they had recorded, and I thought to myself, there's got to be a song in me, So I started thinking, and I also started thinking about the thought that my dad came from a seafaring group of people from North Beach, from the Italian, and they were always laughing and jesting about, takeaway songs that were nonsense songs. So I had that background in my mind. Well, what can we say that was funny about them? So I started playing with that early on, and I had something that worked. It seemed to work. And so that was the only one that really came up that I could save and not throw away,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when it came down to, and I can't tell you what triggered that. I don't know whether it was listening to
Kingston Trio?
No.
No,
It was an Irish group.
Oh, okay.
Pamela, do you remember? No. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to think of their names. Anyway, there was a group that sounded like they could throw in and make a song work. And like I was writing that song for which I was writing the song. And I can't remember what gave me the impetus to give the song over,
Right, yeah.
But anyway, I did. And I have an Irish mother. And my wife said, "You have an Irish mother." Well, I know. But it was just a sneaker in there. It was laid back. It was maybe hidden in one of the guitar cases or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Mike, let's just take a short pause, and then we're going to come right back. The Carla Stories by Mike Mirabella are all about inclusion, belonging, and compassion. In Sister Butterfly, Carla approaches a favorite corner of the garden where she feels safe and happy. Her vigilant brother knows that Carla can create beautiful fantasies as she twirls around and round to music only she can hear, engaged in quiet conversation with the small creatures and her favorite flowers. Enter the magical world of the Carla Stories by Mike Mirabella. Get your copy of the audiobook editions today on Amplify Audiobooks. So as we, coming back to talk a little bit more about the stories, as we're moving now, at the time of this recording, we are we're about to move into production for the audiobook. Talk to us a little bit about the casting. And so for a couple of for the children's voices, we wanted voices that were going to sound like kids. And so just if you would share a little bit about what that's been like to hear the different voices that were options and about your decision-making process, how you went through that.
That's a hard one.
Oh,
It's a hard one because the voices you hear are either too low or they have a tendency to drop down or they go high or, from what's in my mind, And
yeah.
Pam and I decided, well, maybe instead of giving a name to the voice, give them a number. Just give me a number. So address them with a number 9, number 11. So audiobooks gave us a list of people and with their little practice,
The audition.
yeah,
Yeah.
their sentences or whatever you gave us.
Right.
And I said, well, either we might know these people, we might not know who they are. I don't know, but I don't want that leaning on my decision. I want to hear the voice. I want to go in my mind and think about what fits my thought about the character.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. We had the first choice. And I went, well, I like number 7. I like number 3. And so we went through that, and Pam and I did that independently, and we set up a kind of a slot thing, and just so happened we knew a couple people, didn't we?
Turns out.
Yeah, son of a. But it was really great because it was good because that way it took away a lot of the. Gee, didn't you hear me say something? Did you hear me?
Right. Yeah.
Hear you. We didn't. We were listening to the parts.
Yeah, which is exactly the way it should. Yeah, exactly the way it should work. So well done.
It was quick, and for us, it was quick, and then it went over to Audio Voices, and Pro Audio Voices made the decisions of which ones, and then it came back to us, and then. Here you are.
Yeah. Here we are. Yeah. Exciting. One of the things that now for years, since I've known about your books, have enjoyed your books, one of the things that I thought was important to me, I have grandkids, and I want them to grow up to be as kind and compassionate and welcoming and, open to diversity and all of that as possible. And it seems like there are not a lot of children's books that are really include in representation those who have special needs, in any variety. There's so many different experiences, whether it's Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or, so many different things that children are dealing with. And that's one of the things that I've so appreciated about your titles for so long. And my own personal desire to do what I could in whatever way I could to help bring your stories, out into the world in as big a way as possible.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that very much.
Did you find when you were thinking about or working on the publication of the books, were you finding any particular challenges as you were, or opportunities as you were looking at, because I know you did independent publishing, that you're members of Bay Area Independent Publishers Association, which is, of course, how we met. Have you felt any particular challenges or opportunities with the particular material that you've been developing?
Personally, yes, but I think Pamela's been a real good. I don't want the word equalizer, but a real good
a partner, perhaps balance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's use the word partner there. That's a good one, because she has to remind me sometimes that this is not a money making thing for us to do. This is a passion for us. And then she said, it doesn't mean that we're throwing money away. We're putting money into it. But the point is that something good is going to come out of this. If it's God's will, it's going to come out of it. But it may not be in our pocket, but it's going to be somewhere. Okay. If it's a good deal, it's going to happen for somebody out there. And I'm thinking, okay, how do we make this by putting audio voices together? Because this is new for us to put audio voices together. Where is this going to go? Where's it? I mean, we're all getting up there in age too. We all understand that, and we know that there's just so much track record that we've got, and where are we going to go with this? We decided that it's got to have some sort of legwork on its own, and I think that the whole idea that we're going to put out a product that we're going to choose from our own experience, success from our outcomes, and happens to be a Down syndrome child. But it could be any kind of child. It could be any child, a normal child, any child. Now, you could take a child out to show them butterflies in the forest. It doesn't matter which child it is. And if they can see the marvel in that and see the beautiful colors and how they fly up together and how, if there's magic in that for them, then something beautiful has happened for them. And I think that it's not just for them, but it's the people who are showing it to them and passing that information on, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that it's important for us to have given the world then a message that maybe somebody has forgotten to do. It was done years ago. I think we were quoting Helen Keller or somebody, and, somebody who lived years ago, saying the same thing in her own way. But I'm thinking, well, then it needs to be said again. And we could say it in a way that doesn't have to sound outlandish. It can be just something that, parents can go out and say, there's a practical little story. There's another book over here that shows a different marvel. It's very simple, but does this work for my kid? It might not. I don't know. I can't, prove for somebody else's child. I can prove it for my own. And then I guess that's all I need to do as the author, is just to say, well, it worked for my kid. Does it work for your kid? And if it does, then, hey, be a guest and get on my bulletin. Give me permission to quote you, and
Yeah.
Let's bring it to the world, because I think it's important. I think that we have to pass these things on, and if we can get successful, there are going to be a lot of different stories coming out that we never even thought about. We're in our own experience, but they're in other people's experience. You've got a story. I've got 3 stories. Well, let's hear them. I'm really into that. That's super.
Yeah.
That's
I think we're all
line for everybody. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah.
My big line. Everybody, you got 3 stories? I want to hear them.
Yeah. I think we are each ripples in each other's, pebble affect the. What's the right metaphor? Let's see. If you're the dropping the pebble in, we're each ripples for each other in that overall process and spreading the word. Yeah, beautiful. Mike, I want to just thank you so much for taking this time with me. It's been really a lovely conversation, and I would like to encourage our listeners to get your copies of the Carla Stories and On the Luck of the Irish Sailor. When this goes live, they will be available on Amplify audiobooks, and we strongly encourage you to get them there. Again, Mike, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.